Hello, welcome to Program with Sam, and this is Java Lesson 8. So when it comes to creating simple interfaces in Java, we can use JavaFX coupled with the scene builder. Now the scene builder is what we downloaded and installed in the last episode, where we went through how to use JavaFX and the tools that we were going to use whilst we were doing it. Now, this is the scene builder here. And it looks something like this. I've selected to create an empty application because that's what we're going to go for. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to decide on a container or a pane or something that we're going to want to use as the backdrop for our application. Now, for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to pick a border pane. So where's border pane? Here's a border pane. I'm just going to drag and drop that in there. And now I'm going to want to do a little bit of resizing of it. So here is the tab for resizing and modifying the properties of a given pane or whatever element you're inspecting. So I want the min width to be 480, and I want the pref height and pref width to be there, and they're going to use the pref size for all of that as well. And with that, we've sort of made the background window that's going to be used. So if I then go window or preview, we have the window, and it's just a blank window. And obviously this is pretty empty right now. And we want to add some elements to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a menu bar. Now, a menu bar is technically a container. So I think it's up around here somewhere. Maybe not. Oh, it might be in menu. No. Controls, perhaps. Menu button. Menu bar. Here we go. And we're just going to put that on the top. Realistically, we don't need all of those buttons on there for what we're wanting to do. We want file. So we'll have file and we'll need some other buttons in there, but we're definitely not going to need edit, and we shouldn't really need help either for the purposes of this tutorial. We're then going to need to add a few more menu buttons to it, because what we're going to want to do is we're going to want 3 menu items. We're going to want open, we're going to want a save, and then we're going to want an exit. So then we need to set IDs. Now we've highlighted this menu item, and if we go to the code, we can give it an ID of open file. We do the same thing for the save, so we'll do save file, and we can do the same thing for exit. Call it exit app. I'm just going to go ahead and save this interface for now. So in idea projects in lesson 8, source, GUI, fxml, and I'm going to call this application window, like so. But it's still looking a bit bare. We've just got this bare bones scene with just the menu bar on the top and nothing else in it. We're wanting to make a little notepad application and sort of build on this idea that we had last time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button bar at the bottom. So we're going to have a look for button, and we're going to choose a button bar. And I'm going to put that on the bottom. And we're going to add 2 buttons to it. We've got one there. I'm going to add another one here. This button is going to be called word count. And in the code, we'll call it word count. And this button is going to be called character count. And it will be called character count in the fxml. So now we have some buttons and such that we're ready to work with. The last thing we need then is the text area for our notepad. So we just need a text area, and we'll put that in the middle. And as you can see, it's sort of filled the box, the space that's remaining. And that's pretty much it, I think. What we could do is we could add margins and padding. So if we add 2 on the margins, it will just then put that little inset around, which, yeah, I think that works quite nicely in this situation. And then I might want to put a little bit of a margin on this as well, so that it's not quite right up against there. But perfect. That's a bare bones interface for our notepad that we can now add functionality to. So I'm going to go ahead and save that again. and we'll be ready to fire up IntelliJ and have a look at what we actually need to do when it comes to making a controller for this interface. Okay, so here we are in IntelliJ. I have set up a little bit of code that will be useful to us as and when we're making the controller and then the interface and linking it all together. So obviously you can see here we've got the main, and this obviously is what's going to be the run configuration. It's all set up with the JavaFX library, which you'll need to do. If you can't remember how to do that, check it out in the previous blog post or the previous episode. We shouldn't need file handler there, actually. Don't know why I put that in there. And I have set up a file handler to save and load text files. So the first thing we're going to want to do is make a controller. So in this controllers section, I'm going to go new Java class, and I'm going to call it application window controller. Then in main, I'm going to go application window.fxml. And what that will mean is that it's going to try and load this fxml file, application window. And then the controller, the application window controller, needs to be set inside this fxml. And we do that by just saying fx controller is equal to gy dot controllers dot application window controller. There we go. Now in here, we need to do a couple of things to make sure that we can actually use it as a controller. And one of those things is that it needs to implement initializable. So if we implement that, we then have to implement the method initialize, which is what's going to be run when the actual controller is being set up and linked to the fxml. It's essentially what's going to be called when the fxml is being loaded in the class loader, the fxml loader here. And this is where we're going to define all of the functionality for the different buttons. So first things first, we're going to need the fxml tag. That's now imported, and we can make private text area, and we'll call this... Oh, I don't think we named it actually, did we? We didn't name the text area. Where is it? In this instance, the solution is going to be to just go into the text area in Scene Builder and then give it an ID of text area. If we save that, we can then double check that it's there, we can close it, and then if we come here and reload it, it's got text area there, and then we can just write that. So now that we have all of that set up, we're then actually ready to go ahead and start defining some functions. So one of them is going to be private save file, and it will be a void, and we need to put at fxml so we know that it can do it. We're then going to need private void load file, and we'll put an fxml so that we can then access it in the fxml sheet. We're then going to need a private void exit, because we're going to want to be able to exit the application with our exit button, and that will be at fxml. We're also going to want a private void word count, which will then have at fxml. And lastly, we want to do an at fxml private void character count. So those are for the buttons and menus and such that we actually defined in here. And what we can do is on action equals load file, on action equals save file, on action equals exit, and then for the word count, on action word count, on action character count. So then that's all of the functions linked to the interface. So we now have a way of defining what we want each interface element that we've made to do. So the first thing we're going to do is file saving and loading. So we want a file chooser. Chooser is equal to new file chooser. So not new window, what we'll do is new stage. So we want to say file is equal to chooser.showSaveFile, and that will then give us the file that we're actually working with. Then we want to say if file.getName.ends with and .txt, because that's the file extension we want to be working with, then it's good to continue. Otherwise, file, so then we want to do string name is equal to file.getName.replace plus.txt. So that makes sure that the file extension is txt, and then we're good to save the file, which we can then use a file handler object for. So this is where we're going to now declare the file handler object. File handler, and here we will say in initialize that file handler is equal to new file handler, like so. And then when we get to here, what we do is file handler dot write file dot get absolute path, and text area dot get text. Pretty simple. And then similarly in load file we do file chooser is equal to new file chooser, file is equal to chooser.show open dialog even, and new stage. And then we say if file.getName.ends with .txt, so long as it ends with txt, we then do this. We say file handler, or yes, we say text area dot set text file handler dot read file dot get absolute path. Otherwise, alert is equal to new alert type error, and we say alert dot set content text file is not a .txt file, alert dot show and wait. So that'll just output an error to the user in their face, pretty much. Now for the exit function, we need to then say if so we need to get the stage so that we can actually close it. How are we going to do that? We're going to say stage is equal to stage, and we're going to get the text area, we're going to get the scene that it's in, we're going to get the window, and then cast that to a stage, and then we're just going to say stage dot close and application dot is it just exit? There's definitely a way of just exiting an application, but that'll do too. Now, word count. This is where we're going to actually split the text area. So we want to say string all text. We want to make a copy is equal to text area dot get text. Then array list string words is equal to new array list arrays dot as list all text dot split on a space, and then alert is equal to new alert type is going to be information this time, and the alert dot set content text is going to be word count, and it's just going to be words dot size. Simple as that. Character count is going to be a bit more tricky. So what we can do here is we can do string all text is equal to text area dot get text. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do character array chars is equal to all text dot to char array, except it has to be char, obviously. And then we're going to do alert is equal to new alert type information alert dot set content text character count plus chars dot length. We then need to say alert, woo, if I could spell it that'd be terrific, alert dot show and wait, and that will do its thing. We'll then be taking this and we'll be plugging that in there. So what this is going to do is it's going to count the characters or count the words respectively, and then just show us in a pop-up box how it works. It's amazing how one little line of code missing can really mess with the application. So we didn't actually set the scene at all, which is probably why it was kicking up a fuss. In fact, it was exactly why it was kicking up a fuss. So yeah, the moral of the story is just double check sometimes, you know. Anyway, here we have the notepad and it's working. Like, we can type in it. So if we go hello world, we know there's 2 words there. So if we do a word count, we get word count 2. If we do a character count, it gets character count 12. We can save it as, if I save it to my desktop, we call it hello world. It should auto save it as a txt. So if I then minimize it, I don't know where it's gone. Let me have a look. If it is on the other desktop. Ah, that'll be why. Is because that should be if it doesn't. Otherwise, it should just do that. And it should be like so, and we don't need the name. Like that. There we go. So this should now let us do hello world, exclamation point, file, save to my desktop, call it hello world. It should have saved as a txt. Yep, it has. Which we can then, if we delete all of that text, we can then open desktop hello world, and there we go, and it's loaded. Exit, boom. So there you go. I mean, that's, you've made a simple notepad, sort of like notepad editor that you can edit and save and load txt files with. You've basically been given all of the tools now that you can use to actually go and make your own applications, and I would strongly encourage you to do it. Pick something as a project, something maybe you don't know very much about, or something that you want to automate yourself, and try just making an application for it. I think one of the best ways that you can learn is just by trying a project, and when you get stuck, researching how to do it. So that'll be it for this time. And as for next time, there is no next time. There will be a blog post on theory, so feel free to check it out. But other than that, you're done with Java for now. So if you'd like to follow me at ProgramSamBlog, or follow the blog directly at programwithsam.co.blog, that would be much appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one.